I watched my parents hand my sister the keys to a $60,000 Mercedes while they slipped me a 20 and said, "Don't spend it all in one place," like it was some kind of joke. 26 years of being the responsible daughter, the one who helped them through their worst times, and this is how they repaid me. The moment I realized my own family saw me as worthless was the moment everything changed. I'm Julie, and this is the story of how family favoritism turned me into someone even I didn't recognize. Before I tell you this incredible story of family drama and revenge, smash that like button if you've ever felt overlooked by your own family. Drop a comment telling me about your own family drama experiences. And don't forget to subscribe, because I share the most shocking family stories every week. Trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. My name is Julie, and for 26 years I lived in the shadow of my younger sister Layla. From the day she was born, it was obvious that she was the favorite child, the golden daughter who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. When we were kids, Layla got the bigger bedroom, the newer clothes, the expensive toys. I got hand-me-downs and explanations about why we needed to be practical with money. When Layla wanted dance lessons, my parents found a way to afford them. When I asked for art classes, they said we couldn't stretch the budget that far. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't neglected or abused. My parents fed me, housed me, and sent me to school. But there was always this feeling that I was the backup plan, the safety net, while Layla was the main event. In high school, this became even more obvious. Layla was naturally beautiful, outgoing, and popular. She dated the captain of the football team, got invited to every party, and had colleges recruiting her for their cheerleading squads. Meanwhile, I was the quiet, studious one who spent Friday nights at home, helping my parents with their small accounting business. My parents owned a tax preparation service that they ran out of our house during tax season, and a small bookkeeping business year-round. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills and allowed them to be their own bosses. From the time I was 14, I spent every afternoon and weekend helping them organize files, input data, and manage their client communications. Layla never had to help with the family business. My parents said she was too busy with her social activities and sports to worry about work. But I was expected to be there, always available, always willing to put the family business before my own plans. When graduation came, my parents couldn't afford to send both of us to expensive colleges, so they made a decision that perfectly summarized our family dynamic. Layla got to go to a 4-year university with sorority fees and spring break trips, while I was encouraged to attend community college and continue helping with the family business. Julie is so responsible and practical, my mom would tell people. She understands the importance of family and supporting each other. Not every child needs an expensive education to be successful. But Layla, she needed every opportunity, every advantage, every door opened for her because she had so much potential. I graduated from community college with an associate's degree in business administration and became a full-time employee of my parents' company. Not because I loved accounting, but because they needed me and I felt obligated to help. For the next 6 years, I worked 60-hour weeks during tax season and 40-hour weeks the rest of the year, building their client base, modernizing their systems, and basically running the day-to-day operations while my parents focused on the bigger picture. During this time, Layla finished college with a degree in communications that she never used. She moved back home after graduation and spent 2 years finding herself while working part-time at a boutique clothing store. My parents supported her during this period, paying for her car insurance, her cell phone, her credit card bills, and even giving her spending money for girls' nights out. Meanwhile, I was living in a tiny studio apartment across town, paying my own bills and saving every penny I could while contributing 40 hours a week to the family business. When Layla finally decided she wanted to move to the city and try to break into fashion marketing, my parents helped her with a security deposit for an apartment, bought her a professional wardrobe, and gave her 3 months of living expenses to get started. When I asked if I could borrow money to take some night classes to get my bachelor's degree, they said the business couldn't afford to lose my time and energy on school when we had so many clients depending on us. This pattern continued for years. Layla got support, encouragement, and financial help whenever she asked for it. I got expectations, responsibilities, and lectures about family loyalty whenever I suggested I might want to pursue my own goals. The worst part wasn't even the money or the obvious favoritism. It was the way my parents talked about us to other people. Layla was always our ambitious daughter who's pursuing her dreams in a city. I was our reliable daughter who helps us with the business. Reliable. That's the word that defined my entire relationship with my family. Not talented, not smart, not accomplished. Reliable. I started to internalize this narrative. Maybe I really was just the practical, boring daughter whose main value is being available to help other people achieve their dreams. Maybe I wasn't meant for anything more exciting than filing tax returns and balancing small business books. But deep down, I was building resentment. Every family dinner where Layla's latest career adventure was the main topic of conversation. Every holiday where my parents bragged about her accomplishments to our relatives while barely mentioning my contributions to their business success. Every birthday where she got thoughtful, expensive gifts while I got gift cards and practical items. I kept telling myself that this was just how families worked. Parents invest more in the child with the most potential, and everyone else supports that investment for the good of the family unit. I convinced myself that I was being mature and selfless by accepting my role as the dependable daughter. Then, 3 months ago, everything changed. Layla announced that she was engaged to a guy named Trent who worked in marketing at a tech company. He was handsome, successful, and came from a wealthy family. My parents were over the moon about this engagement, not just because they liked Trent, but because it validated their belief that Layla was destined for a glamorous life. The engagement party was held at an expensive restaurant downtown. My parents paid for everything and invited 50 people to celebrate their golden daughter's achievement. During the toasts, my dad talked about how proud he was of Layla for finding such a wonderful partner and how excited he was to welcome Trent into our family. When it was my turn to give a toast, I talked about how happy I was for my sister and how much I looked forward to getting to know Trent better. It was a perfectly appropriate, supportive sister speech, but afterward, I overheard my mom talking to one of her friends in the bathroom. "Poor Julie," my mom was saying. "She's 26 and still single. I worry that she's too focused on work and not putting herself out there enough. She's such a sweet girl, but she doesn't have Layla's natural charm with men. Poor Julie, like I was some kind of charity case that she felt sorry for." That night, I went home to my studio apartment and really looked at my life for the first time in years. I was 26 years old, and I had spent the last 8 years building someone else's business while my own life stagnated. I had no romantic relationships because I worked all the time. I had few friends because I never had time to maintain friendships. I had no hobbies or interests outside of work because work consumed everything. And my family saw me as the reliable one who needed their pity. That's when I started paying closer attention to the family dynamics I had accepted for so long. I started noticing things that I had previously ignored or rationalized away, like how my parents always asked me to work late during busy periods, but never asked Layla to change her social plans to help with the business, like how they celebrated every small milestone in Layla's career, but barely acknowledged when I landed major new clients for their company. Like how they assumed I would always be available to help them without ever asking if I had other priorities. I realized that my family had never actually seen me as a person with my own dreams and ambitions. They saw me as a supporting character in Layla's story and their business success story. And that realization made me start to wonder what would happen if the reliable daughter suddenly became unreliable. The breaking point came 2 months later on what was supposed to be a celebration of both Layla's engagement and my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. They had planned a big family dinner at their house, and I assumed it would be a nice evening of celebrating these milestones together. I had been working extra hours for weeks to make sure all of our clients' quarterly reports were finished early, so I could take the evening off without any business interruptions. I even bought nice gifts for everyone: a beautiful picture frame for my parents' anniversary, and a piece of jewelry for Layla's engagement. When I arrived at my parents' house that evening, I immediately noticed something different in the driveway. There was a brand new white Mercedes sedan parked next to my dad's old truck. It was gorgeous, with leather seats and all the latest technology features. "Whose car is that?" I asked when I walked into the house. My parents and Layla were all standing in the living room with huge smiles on their faces. "That's the surprise," my mom said, practically bouncing with excitement. "Surprise for what?" "Well," my dad said, putting his arm around Layla, "we wanted to give our girls something special to celebrate this exciting time in our family's life." Layla was holding a set of car keys and grinning like she had just won the lottery. "You bought Layla a Mercedes?" I asked. "Not just any Mercedes," Layla said. "It's the C-Class with the premium package: heated seats, navigation system, premium sound system. Dad said I need a reliable car for my commute, and since Trent and I are going to be married soon, we wanted me to have something nice that would last for years." I looked at my parents, waiting for them to explain what my surprise was going to be. Maybe they had bought 2 cars? Maybe there was something else waiting for me? "That's amazing," I said. "I'm so happy for you, Layla." "What a beautiful car." "Thank you. I can't believe Mom and Dad did this for me. It's like a dream come true." I waited for someone to mention my part of the surprise, but the conversation continued to focus entirely on Layla's new car. She was showing me all the features on the key fob, talking about the paint color she had chosen, describing the interior options they had selected. Finally, I couldn't wait any longer. "So," I said to my parents, "what's my surprise?" My mom and dad looked at each other, and I saw something pass between them that I couldn't quite identify. Well, honey, my mom said, reaching into her purse, we wanted to give you something too. She pulled out a $20 bill and handed it to me. I stared at the crumpled bill in my hand, thinking this had to be some kind of joke. Maybe there was a check inside it. Or maybe this was just the first part of a bigger surprise. Don't spend it all in one place, my dad said with a chuckle, like he had just given me the world's funniest gift. I looked around the room. Layla was still admiring her car keys. My parents were smiling at me like they had just done something wonderfully generous. Nobody seemed to think there was anything strange about giving one daughter a $60,000 car and the other daughter $20. Is this a joke? I asked. What do you mean? My mom said. Layla gets a brand new Mercedes and I get $20. Julie, my dad said in that tone he used when he thought I was being unreasonable. You're at a different stage in your life than Layla is. She's starting her career, planning a wedding, building a future. She needs reliable transportation for all of that. And I don't need reliable transportation? You already have a car? I have a 10-year-old Honda with 150,000 miles on it. There's nothing wrong with that car. It's practical and efficient. I felt like I was in some kind of alternate reality where nothing made sense. Mom, Dad, I've been working for your business for 6 years. I've helped you build your client base, modernize your systems, and increase your profits. I work 60 hours a week during tax season and never complain. And you're giving me $20 while you give Layla a luxury car? Sweetheart, my mom said, using that patient voice she always used when she thought I was missing the point. This isn't about comparing gifts. This is about giving each of our daughters what they need at this point in their lives. What I need is $20. Julie, you're being dramatic, Layla said. Mom and Dad have always been generous with both of us in different ways. What ways have they been generous with me? You have a job. You have work experience. You're building a career with the family business. I have a job working for them, for less money than I could make anywhere else with my experience. But you're part of the family business, my dad said. You're building something that will benefit all of us in the long run. That's when it hit me. They weren't giving me less because they loved me less. They were giving me less because they assumed I would always be there, always be available, always be willing to sacrifice my own interests for the family's benefit. They weren't investing in my future because they assumed my future was already decided. I would work for the family business, support Layla's glamorous life, and be grateful for the opportunity to serve. The $20 wasn't a gift. It was a symbol of how little they valued my contributions and how certain they were that I would never demand more. You know what? I said, folding the $20 bill and putting it in my pocket. Thank you for this gift. It's exactly what I needed. See? My mom said to my dad. I told you Julie would understand. I understand perfectly, I said. That night, I went home and sat in my tiny apartment, looking at that $20 bill and thinking about everything it represented. 26 years of being taken for granted. 26 years of being the reliable one while someone else got to be the special one. But sitting there in my apartment, I realized something that my family had never figured out about me. Being reliable doesn't mean being weak. Being practical doesn't mean being stupid. And being overlooked doesn't mean being powerless. In fact, being the one who handles all the business operations, who knows all the clients, who understands all the systems, who has access to all the files and financial records. That actually makes you pretty powerful if you decide to use that power. My family had spent years teaching me that I was worth $20 while Layla was worth 60,000. They were about to learn that they had seriously underestimated the value of the daughter they thought they could take for granted. And that $20 bill? It was going to become the most expensive gift they ever gave. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't going to quit my parents' business in a dramatic fit of anger. I wasn't going to have a crying confrontation about fairness and favoritism. I was going to do something much more effective. I was going to show them exactly how much the reliable daughter was actually worth. For the past 6 years, I had been essentially running my parents' accounting business while they took credit for the success and profits. I knew every client personally. I understood their financial situations, their business challenges, their tax strategies. I had built relationships with them that went far beyond just preparing their tax returns. More importantly, I had been the one who modernized all of our systems, created our digital client management platform, and developed the processes that made us more efficient than our competitors. My parents still thought of themselves as traditional accountants, but I had been quietly transforming their business into a modern financial services company. I had also been handling all of our marketing, from our website to our social media presence to our client referral programs. I had increased our client base by 60% over the past 3 years, but my parents assumed this growth was just the natural result of their reputation in the community. Sitting in my apartment that morning, I realized that my parents' business wasn't actually their business anymore. It was mine. I had built it, I was running it, and I was the reason it was successful. So I decided to start my own accounting firm. But I wasn't going to do it in a way that would hurt my parents financially or destroy their livelihood. Despite everything, I still loved them. I just wanted them to understand what they were losing when they treated me as expendable. First, I spent a week researching the legal requirements for starting an accounting business in our state. I learned about licensing, insurance, office space requirements, and all the regulations I would need to follow. Then I started working on my business plan. I would offer the same services as my parents' company, but with a focus on digital solutions and modern client communication methods. I would target small businesses and young entrepreneurs who wanted more than just basic tax preparation. The most important part of my plan was client transition. I wasn't going to steal my parents' clients or compete directly with them for their existing customer base. Instead, I was going to create a referral system where I handled the younger, more tech-savvy clients who wanted services that my parents' traditional approach couldn't provide. This would actually benefit my parents' business in the long run because they could focus on their established client base while referring the clients who wanted more modern services to me. While I was planning my new business, I continued working for my parents as if nothing had changed. But I started documenting everything I did, every process I had created, every client relationship I had built. I also started testing something. I wanted to see what would happen if the reliable daughter became slightly less reliable. It started small. When my dad asked me to work late to finish a client's quarterly report, I said I couldn't because I had other plans. When my mom asked me to come in on Saturday to help with filing, I said I was busy. Julie, this isn't like you, my mom said after I declined to work overtime for the third time in 2 weeks. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, Mom. I just think it's important to have work-life balance. But we have deadlines to meet. Our clients are counting on us. I know. Maybe we should consider hiring additional staff to handle the workload instead of expecting me to work 60 hours a week. Hiring staff is expensive, Julie. We're a family business. We all pitch in when needed. I am pitching in. I'm working 40 hours a week. That's a full-time job. But during busy seasons, we've always worked longer hours. Maybe it's time to change that. I could see the confusion on my parents' faces. They had never had to manage their business without unlimited access to my time and energy. They had never had to consider what they would do if I wasn't always available to handle whatever they needed. The confusion turned into frustration when I started saying no to non-work requests too. When Layla called and asked me to help her move some furniture into her new apartment, I said I was busy. When my parents asked me to help them organize their home office on the weekend, I said I had other plans. When Layla wanted me to go dress shopping for her engagement photos, I said I couldn't make it. Julie, you're being really distant lately, Layla said during one of our phone conversations. Are you mad about something? Not mad. Just busy with my own life. What's going on in your life? You never tell us about anything you're doing. Just work stuff and personal projects. What kind of personal projects? Nothing exciting. Just things I'm interested in. For the first time in my adult life, I was setting boundaries with my family. I was treating my time as valuable and my own interests as important, and they had no idea how to handle it. The breaking point came 3 weeks after the Mercedes incident. My parents had scheduled meetings with several new potential clients for the same day, and they expected me to handle all the preliminary paperwork and client consultations while they focused on closing the deals. But I had scheduled my own meeting that day with a small business loan officer to discuss financing for my new accounting firm. Julie, we need you here today, my dad said when I told him I wouldn't be available. This is one of our biggest business development days of the year. I'm sorry, but I have an important appointment I can't reschedule. What appointment is more important than our family business? A personal financial matter. Can't you handle personal stuff on your own time? This is my own time, Dad. I don't work Fridays anymore, remember? That was another boundary I had recently set. I had told my parents that I would be working Monday through Thursday only, unless there was a genuine emergency. Julie, this attitude of yours is really starting to affect our business. What attitude? This selfish attitude where you put your own wants ahead of the family's needs. I looked at my dad, this man who had given my sister a luxury car and given me $20, and he was calling me selfish for wanting to have one day a week that belonged to me. Dad, how many hours did I work last week? I don't know, 40-something? I worked 42 hours. How many hours did Layla work for the family business last week? Layla doesn't work for the business. Right. She doesn't work for the business, but she gets a $60,000 car. I work 42 hours a week for the business and I get $20. And you think I'm being selfish. That's completely different. Layla has her own career to focus on. What about my career? Your career is the family business. According to who? My dad stared at me like I had asked the most ridiculous question in the world. Julie, you've been working here for 6 years. This is obviously your career path. Did anyone ever ask me if this is what I wanted to do with my life? You seemed happy here. I seemed reliable here. There's a difference. That afternoon, I met with the loan officer and got approved for a small business loan to start my accounting firm. I found a small office space in a business complex across town. I ordered business cards, set up a website, and registered my business name, Strategic Financial Solutions. I was ready to show my family what the reliable daughter was really worth. I spent the next month preparing to launch my business while continuing to work for my parents. During this time, I watched them struggle to manage even the basic operations without my constant availability. When I wasn't there to work late and handle last-minute client requests, they had to turn down some business opportunities. When I wasn't available on weekends to catch up on filing and administrative tasks, they fell behind on their usual schedule. When I wasn't there to handle the technology issues that came up daily, they had to pay for outside technical support. Most importantly, several clients started asking specifically for me when they called with questions or needed help with their accounts. My parents had to explain that I wasn't always available immediately, and some clients expressed frustration with the slower response times. Julie, my mom said one afternoon, Mrs. Peterson called again, asking for you specifically. She said she's not comfortable discussing her business finances with anyone else. That's because I've been handling her account for 4 years. I know her business inside and out. Well, can you call her back today? She seemed upset. I'll add her to my list for tomorrow. I'm booked solid today. Tomorrow? Julie, she's one of our biggest clients. We need to prioritize her. I am prioritizing her. She'll be the first call I make tomorrow morning. But she called today. And I'll call her back tomorrow. Unless this is a genuine emergency, all client calls get returned within 24 hours. That's still excellent customer service. My mom looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. She had never had to think about response times or customer service standards because I had always been available to handle everything immediately. Julie, I don't understand what's happening with you lately. You used to be so dedicated to our clients. I'm still dedicated to our clients. I'm just not available 24 hours a day anymore. But that availability is what sets us apart from the big accounting firms. We're a family business that provides personal service. Personal service doesn't require me to have no personal life. Over the next few weeks, I watched my parents slowly realize how much they had been depending on me for things they never even thought about. The client relationships I had built, the systems I had created, the processes I had developed. None of it was written down or documented in a way that would allow them to maintain it without me. Meanwhile, I was finalizing the setup of my new business. I had hired a part-time assistant, a young woman named Shirley, who had just graduated with an accounting degree and was eager to learn about modern financial services. I had also started reaching out to some business contacts I had made over the years, not my parents' clients, but people I had met at networking events, trade conferences, and professional development workshops that I had attended on my own time. I was surprised to discover how many people knew me professionally outside of my parents' business. I had been so focused on being the reliable daughter that I hadn't realized I had been building my own professional reputation all along. One of these contacts was Jake, a business consultant who specialized in helping small companies improve their financial systems. He had been encouraging me for years to start my own practice. Julie, you're one of the smartest financial professionals I've ever worked with, he told me over coffee. I've been waiting for you to realize that you could be running your own firm instead of working for someone else. Even if that someone else is my family, especially if that someone else is your family. Family businesses can be great, but only if everyone is treated as an equal partner. It sounds like you've been treated as an employee while other family members have been treated as owners. Jake was right. I had never been offered partnership in my parents' business, despite being responsible for most of its growth and daily operations. I had never been included in major business decisions, despite having the most detailed knowledge of our clients and finances. I had been essential to their success, but excluded from their profits and planning. What would you say if I told you I was thinking about starting my own practice? I asked Jake. I'd say it's about time, and I'd ask how I can help. That conversation gave me the confidence to move forward with my plan. 2 weeks later, I was ready to reveal my secret project to my family. I chose a Friday afternoon when I knew my parents would be in the office but not overwhelmed with client appointments. I had prepared a presentation that I intended to give to them as a business proposal, not as a dramatic confrontation. "Mom, Dad," I said, knocking on the door of their shared office. "Do you have a few minutes to talk about something important?" "Of course, honey. What's on your mind?" I sat down across from their desk and pulled out the folder I had prepared. "I want to show you something I've been working on." I handed them my business plan for strategic financial solutions, complete with market analysis, financial projections, and a detailed description of services. My parents read through the first few pages in silence. I watched their faces change from curiosity to confusion to something that looked like betrayal. "Julie," my dad said finally, "what is this?" "It's a business plan for my own accounting firm." "Your own accounting firm?" "Yes. I've been working on this for the past month." "But you already have a job. You work here. I work for you." There's a difference between having a job and having a career. My mom was flipping through the pages of the business plan with a shocked expression. "Julie, this is very detailed. You've put a lot of time and effort into this." "Yes, I have." "When were you working on this?" "During business hours?" "No, Mom. I worked on this during my own time, evenings and weekends." "But why?" my dad asked. "Are you unhappy working here?" "I'm unhappy being taken for granted." "Taken for granted?" "Julie, you're an essential part of this business." "I'm an essential part of this business, but I'm not treated like it. I'm not included in business decisions. I'm not offered partnership or profit sharing. I'm not even paid market rate for the work I do." "But your family." "This is a family business." "Exactly. And family members should be partners, not employees." I watched my parents process what I was telling them. They had never thought about the difference between being family and being business partners because they had never had to think about it. "So what are you saying?" my mom asked. "Are you quitting?" "I'm not quitting. I'm proposing a new arrangement." What kind of arrangement? I want to start my own firm, but I also want to maintain a relationship with your business. I think we could work together in a way that benefits both companies. I explained my idea for a referral partnership. My parents could continue to serve their established client base with traditional accounting services, while I would handle clients who needed more modern, technology-focused financial services. We could refer clients back and forth based on their specific needs, and both businesses would benefit from the expanded service offerings. This way, you don't lose me as a resource, but I get to build my own career and have control over my own professional future. My parents were quiet for a long time, reading through the rest of my business plan. Finally, my dad looked up at me. Julie, I had no idea you were thinking about any of this. Why didn't you talk to us before putting all this work into planning your own business? Because I needed to figure out what I wanted before I could discuss it with you. And I needed to prove to myself that I was capable of building something on my own. Of course you're capable. We've always known you were smart and capable. Then why have you never treated me as an equal partner in this business? Because you're our daughter. We want to take care of you. Taking care of me would mean helping me build my own success, not assuming I'll always be available to support everyone else's success. That's when I pulled out the $20 bill that had started this whole journey. This $20 represents how you see my value compared to Layla's $60,000 car. But this business plan represents my actual value. I'm not the reliable daughter who's content with scraps. I'm a financial professional who's been building and running a successful business for 6 years. My parents stared at the $20 bill on their desk. Julie, my mom said softly, we never meant to make you feel undervalued. I know you didn't mean to, but impact matters more than intention. The next few days were tense. My parents needed time to process my business plan and my decision to start my own firm. I continued working my regular schedule, but there was an awkwardness in the office that hadn't been there before. I could tell they were talking about me when I wasn't around, trying to figure out how to respond to my ultimatum. Because that's essentially what it was, even though I had tried to present it as a business proposal. They could either accept me as an equal partner in a new business relationship, or they could watch me become their competition. On Wednesday of that week, I got a call from Layla. Julie, Mom told me about your business plan. What's going on? I'm starting my own accounting firm. But why? I thought you liked working with Mom and Dad. I do like working with them. I don't like being taken for granted by them. How are you being taken for granted? I realized that Layla genuinely didn't understand the family dynamics that had been obvious to me for years. In her mind, everyone in our family was happy with their roles and relationships. Layla, do you think it's fair that Mom and Dad gave you a $60,000 car and gave me $20? That wasn't about fairness, Julie. That was about what each of us needed at that point in our lives. What did I need? $20? You needed, I don't know. You seem like you have everything under control. You have a good job. You're independent. You're successful. I have a job working for our parents for less money than I could make anywhere else. I live in a studio apartment and drive a 10-year-old car because I can't afford anything better. How is that more successful than your situation? Layla was quiet for a moment. I never thought about it that way. Layla, I've been working 60 hours a week for 6 years to help build mom and dad's business. During that time, they've supported you financially while you figured out your career, paid for your education, helped you move to the city, and now bought you a luxury car. Do you think that seems fair? But Julie, you chose to work for the family business. Nobody forced you to do that. I chose to help the family business because I thought it was temporary. I thought eventually I would be included as a partner, or at least paid fairly for my contributions. Instead, I've been treated like hired help while you've been treated like an investment. I don't think mom and dad see it that way. How do they see it? They think you're the responsible one who doesn't need as much support. The responsible one who doesn't deserve as much support, you mean? This conversation continued for another hour. By the end of it, I could tell that Layla was starting to understand the inequality that had defined our family relationships for years. She had never questioned why she received financial support while I received expectations, because from her perspective, that arrangement worked perfectly. But hearing it explained from my point of view made her realize that our parents' generosity toward her had come at the cost of fairness toward me. Julie, I'm sorry. I never realized that you felt this way. I didn't want you to realize it. I wanted to be the supportive big sister who was happy about your success. But you weren't happy? I was happy for you. But I was also resentful that your happiness seemed to require my sacrifice. What do you mean? Every dollar that mom and dad spent supporting your dreams was a dollar they weren't investing in my future. Every hour I spent working for their business was an hour I couldn't spend building my own career. Your success was partially funded by my unpaid labor. Layla was crying by this point. Julie, I had no idea. I thought everyone was happy with how things were. Everyone was happy except me. And I was too afraid to speak up because I didn't want to be seen as jealous or selfish. What can I do to make this better? You can support my decision to start my own business even if mom and dad don't like it. Of course I'll support you. Julie, you're amazing at what you do. You should have your own business. That conversation with Layla was actually more productive than my conversations with my parents had been. She understood immediately that the family dynamics were unfair, and she was genuinely sorry that she had benefited from that unfairness without questioning it. On Friday, my parents asked me to stay after work for another discussion about my business plan. Julie, my dad said, we've been thinking about your proposal and we have some concerns. What kind of concerns? Well, if you start your own business, you'll be competing with us for clients. I explained that I would focus on different types of clients and services. We would be complementary, not competitive. But what if that changes? What if you decide you want to pursue our existing clients? Dad, I've been managing relationships with your existing clients for 6 years. If I wanted to steal them, I could have done it any time. That's true, my mom said. Julie has always been completely trustworthy with our client relationships. So what's the real concern? I asked. My parents looked at each other, and I could tell they were trying to figure out how to say something difficult. The real concern, my dad said finally, is that we don't know how to run this business without you. That was the first completely honest thing either of them had said since I presented my business plan. What do you mean? I mean, you handle most of the day-to-day operations, most of the client communications, most of the technical systems. If you leave, we're not sure we can maintain the same level of service. So you're saying that my work is essential to your business success? Yes. And you're saying that losing me would significantly impact your ability to serve clients? Yes. Then why have you never offered me partnership in the business? My parents were quiet for a long moment. Because, my mom said slowly, we thought of this as our business that you helped with, not as a business that you were building with us. Even though I've been responsible for most of the growth and modernization, even though that, why? Because you're our daughter and we wanted to maintain control over the business decisions. Finally, we were getting to the real issue. My parents hadn't been treating me as an employee or even as a junior partner. They had been treating me as a very talented intern who they could direct and control because of our family relationship. Mom, Dad, I love you both. But I can't continue to work in a situation where my contributions are essential, but my voice doesn't matter. But if you start your own business, you'll be taking all that knowledge and experience with you. Yes, I will. Because that knowledge and experience belongs to me. I earned it. But we taught you everything you know about accounting. You taught me the basics. I taught myself everything about modern financial systems, client relations, business development, and strategic planning. Most of what I know, I learned on my own time because I wanted to be good at my job. My dad leaned back in his chair and sighed. Julie, what do you want from us? I want you to choose between two options. Option 1, you offer me a 50% partnership in this business, including profit sharing and equal decision-making authority. Option 2, I start my own business and we figure out a referral relationship that works for both companies. 50%? Julie, that's half the business. Dad, I've been doing more than half the work for 6 years. But we started this business 20 years ago. We built the client base and the reputation. And I've grown the client base by 60% and modernized the entire operation. Without my contributions over the past 6 years, you would still be a small local tax preparation service. Instead, you're a comprehensive financial services company with regional recognition. I pulled out a folder I had prepared with financial documentation showing the growth of their business since I started working there full-time. These numbers don't lie. Revenue has increased by 200%, client retention has improved by 40%, and profit margins have increased by 30% since I became a full-time employee. That growth didn't happen by accident. My parents studied the charts and graphs I had prepared. I had documented everything, every new client I had brought in, every process improvement I had implemented, every technology upgrade I had managed. This is very thorough, my mom said. It's also accurate. I've been tracking this data for years because I wanted to understand the real value of my contributions. Julie, why didn't you show us this information before? Because I thought you already knew. I thought you understood that I was building this business with you, not just working for you. My dad set down the financial reports and looked at me. Julie, you're right. We've been taking your contributions for granted. We've been treating you like a very capable employee instead of like the business partner you've actually been. So what happens now? Now we figure out how to make this right. What happened next surprised me more than anything that had come before. Instead of fighting my decision to start my own business, My parents asked if they could invest in it. What do you mean? I asked. I mean, my dad said, what if instead of starting a competing business, we restructured our existing business to make you a full partner? Or, my mom added, what if we helped you start your own business as a subsidiary of our company? I hadn't expected either of these options. I had prepared for them to be angry, hurt, or resistant. I hadn't prepared for them to be supportive and collaborative. You would really consider restructuring your business to make me a partner? Julie, my dad said, after looking at these financial reports, it's clear that you haven't been an employee for years. You've been our business partner without the title or the compensation. And after thinking about what you said, my mom added, we realize that we've been making the same mistake with you that we made with Layla. What do you mean? We assumed we knew what was best for both of you without asking what you actually wanted. We assumed Layla needed financial support and you needed job security. We never asked if those assumptions were correct. This was the most insightful thing either of my parents had ever said about our family dynamics. So what are you proposing? We're proposing that you choose the option that's best for your career and your future. If you want to be a partner in our existing business, we'll restructure everything to make that work. If you want to start your own business, we'll support that and figure out how to work together. What about the money issue? What about the fact that you gave Layla a $60,000 car and gave me $20? My parents looked at each other, and I could see that they had already discussed this. We want to make that right too, my mom said. How? Well, my dad said, if you become a partner in our business, you'll receive retroactive profit sharing for the past 6 years. Based on the growth you've generated, that would be a significant amount of money. How significant? About $80,000. I stared at them. $80,000? That's what you would have earned in profit sharing if we had been treating you as a partner instead of an employee. I sat back in my chair, trying to process this information. They were offering me $80,000 in retroactive compensation, which was more money than I had ever imagined having. And if I choose to start my own business, then we'll invest $40,000 in your startup costs, and we'll commit to sending you referral business for the first 2 years. Both options were generous beyond anything I had expected, but more importantly, both options represented a fundamental change in how my parents saw me and my value to the family. Can I think about this over the weekend? Of course. Take as much time as you need. That evening, I called Layla to tell her about the conversation with our parents. Julie, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself. Are you really okay with this? With me getting such a large amount of money from Mom and Dad? Of course I'm okay with it. You earned that money. I've been getting financial support from them for years, and you've been giving them your labor in return for almost nothing. It's about time they recognized that. What about your car? What about it? Does it bother you that I'm getting money now too? Julie, the car was never about choosing me over you. It was about Mom and Dad not understanding what you needed or wanted. Now they understand, and they're making it right. So you really support this? I support you building the career you want, whether that's as a partner with Mom and Dad or as your own boss. You're incredibly talented, and you deserve to be recognized for that. That conversation meant more to me than the money or the business opportunities. Having my sister's genuine support felt like validation that I wasn't being selfish or unreasonable in asking for what I deserved. Over the weekend, I thought carefully about both options my parents had offered. Partnership in their existing business would give me financial security and the opportunity to continue building something I had already invested 6 years in creating. But it would also mean continuing to work closely with my parents every day. And I wasn't sure if our relationship could handle that transition. Starting my own business would give me complete creative and financial control over my career, but it would also mean starting over and taking on all the risks that come with entrepreneurship. Finally, I realized that the choice wasn't really about money or career prospects. It was about what kind of relationship I wanted to have with my family going forward. On Monday morning, I told my parents I wanted to start my own business with their investment and support. I think it will be healthier for our family relationships if I'm your business partner rather than your employee, I explained. This way, we can work together as equals instead of as parents and child. Are you sure? My mom asked. Partnership in our business would be less risky. I'm sure. I want to build something that's mine from the ground up. Then we'll support your decision completely. And they did. My parents invested $40,000 in strategic financial solutions and became my first referral partners. They also insisted on paying me the $80,000 in retroactive profit sharing, saying it was money I had earned regardless of my decision about the future. 3 months later, I opened my office and started taking clients. Within 6 months, I was profitable. Within a year, I had hired 2 additional staff members and was serving over 100 clients. But the most important change wasn't in my business success. It was in my family relationships. My parents and I now work together as professional equals. They refer clients to me who need services they don't provide, and I refer clients to them who prefer their traditional approach. We support each other's businesses while maintaining our independence. More importantly, they now see me as Julie, the successful business owner, not Julie, the reliable daughter. They ask for my professional advice on their business decisions. They brag about my accomplishments to their friends. They treat me as an adult with valuable opinions and insights. Layla and I also have a much better relationship. She understands now why I was resentful for so many years, and she makes an effort to ensure that family conversations include my achievements as well as hers. When she got married last month, she asked me to be her maid of honor and gave a speech about how proud she was of my courage in starting my own business. As for that $20 bill, I still have it, framed in my office as a reminder of how much my life can change when I decide to value myself appropriately. The real revenge wasn't destroying my family or proving them wrong. The real revenge was showing them who I had always been and watching them realize what they had been missing. 6 months after I started my business, my parents invited me to dinner at their house. It was just the three of us, which was unusual. Normally, family dinners included Layla and Trent. Julie, my dad said over dessert, we want to tell you something. What's that? We're proud of you. We're proud of the business you've built, the courage you showed in starting over, and the way you've handled this whole situation. Thank you. But more than that, my mom said, we're sorry. We're sorry that it took you starting your own business for us to realize how talented and capable you are. We're sorry that we made you feel like you had to prove your worth to your own family. We always knew you were smart and responsible, my dad added. But we didn't understand that you were also ambitious and creative and entrepreneurial. We put you in a box that was way too small for who you actually are. This was the apology I had been waiting for my entire adult life. Not just an apology for the $20 versus the car, but an apology for years of taking me for granted and underestimating my potential. I appreciate that, I said. But I also want you to know that going through this experience taught me things about myself that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. Like what? Like the fact that I'm much stronger and more resourceful than I thought. Like the fact that I don't have to accept situations that make me unhappy just because they're familiar. Like the fact that asking for what I deserve doesn't make me selfish. You're right, my mom said. And we should have been teaching you those lessons all along instead of teaching you to be satisfied with less than you deserved. That conversation marked the real end of our family's transformation. We had moved from a dynamic where one daughter was the golden child and the other was the reliable helper, to a dynamic where both daughters were valued for their unique strengths and achievements. Last month, we had our first annual family business meeting. My parents, Layla, Trent, and I all sat around the table discussing our professional goals and how we could support each other's success. It was the first time in my life that I felt like an equal participant in family discussions rather than a supporting character. The meeting ended with my dad making an announcement. Your mother and I have been talking about retirement planning, he said. We want to make sure that both of our daughters are set up for long-term financial success. He handed Layla and me each an envelope. We've restructured our wills to leave the family business to both of you equally, if you choose to continue working together. And we've set up investment accounts for both of you with equal contributions. I opened my envelope and found a bank statement showing a $20,000 investment account in my name. Layla opened hers and found the same thing. Mom, Dad, Layla said, this is incredibly generous. It's not generous, my mom said. It's fair. We should have been treating both of you equally all along. As we were leaving that night, my dad pulled me aside. Julie, I want you to know that watching you build your own business has been one of the proudest moments of my life. Not because of your success, but because of your courage. Thank you, Dad. That $20 was the worst gift I ever gave anyone, but in a strange way, I'm grateful that it happened. Why? Because it forced all of us to have conversations we should have been having for years. It forced us to look at our family dynamics and realize that we weren't treating you the way we should have been. The $20 didn't change anything, Dad. It just revealed what was already true. You're right. And now we have the chance to build better relationships going forward. Walking to my car that night, I thought about how different my life looked compared to a year earlier. I was now a successful business owner with 2 thriving locations and 15 employees. I had a beautiful apartment in the part of town I had always wanted to live in. I was dating Jake, the business consultant who had encouraged me to start my own firm. But most importantly, I had a family that saw me clearly and valued me appropriately. The revenge I had planned was supposed to be about showing them what they would lose if they kept taking me for granted. Instead, it became about showing them what they could gain if they started treating me with respect. That $20 bill taught my family the most expensive lesson they ever learned. It cost them their assumptions about who I was and what I was capable of. It cost them their comfortable dynamic where one daughter was the star and the other was the supporting cast. But it also earned them something much more valuable. It earned them a daughter who was confident enough to demand respect, successful enough to command attention, and secure enough to forgive past mistakes. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. Sometimes the best revenge is transformation. Sometimes the best revenge is showing people who you really are and watching them realize they had underestimated you all along. That $20 bill sits in a frame on my office wall now, next to a photo of my family at Layla's wedding and a copy of my first business award. It's a reminder that my worth was never determined by how others saw me, but by how I chose to see myself. And now, finally, those two perspectives match. If you enjoyed this story of family drama and ultimate revenge through success, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible family drama stories every week. Drop a comment below telling me about a time you had to prove your worth to people who underestimated you. And don't forget to check out my other videos about family betrayals, workplace revenge, and people who got exactly what they deserved. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.